What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Scales Family Reptiles.
I'm Amethyst, this is Jordan, and we are about to film part 2 on how to breed a ball python. Alright guys, so we already filmed part 1, so if you haven't checked it out, feel free to hop on over there, check it out real quick because we're going to continue from there. The link should be somewhere on this thing.
Somewhere in there. So let's talk about ovulation. Our steps to get to ovulation, right? So the first video we talked about pairing your males and females. So now we've been pairing, right? We have plenty of female-male locks. So we're starting to notice the behavior of females. So they stop eating, they're bull wrapping hard. Speaking of bull wrapping, that's exactly what you want to see right there. Perfect. You know they're building follicles and they're getting close. Getting a drink, Mama? And then we start checking the ultrasound more often. Usually when they get about 30 to 35 millimeter follicles, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, you're gonna see an ovulation. Let's take a look at what an ovulation looks like. So here's some great examples of ovulations. You can see that belly suck right there. You can also see that it looked like they ate a football even though they haven't eaten in 2 to 3 months. These are some prime examples of ovulation. They're not always gonna be this extreme, but you will see that big fat lump in there.
So ovulation, tell us about it, Jordan.
Ovulation, it's a very special time. It's when you know you're gonna get eggs or slugs or something. So ovulation occurs when the female transfers her ovum, her infertile eggs, down past her ovaries into her oviduct. At the same time, she's inseminating the sperm into those eggs. After the ovulation occurs, you're gonna really notice that girl. She's gonna go to the back and she's gonna start nesting. Let's take a look what nesting looks like.
Okay, so this girl right here is the perfect example of what it looks like. As you can see, she's on the heat side. She's pushed all the cocoa blocks away from her. She's curled up in a ball, and she's gonna be just like this for the next 30 to 40 days.
Here's another great example of it. She's pushed all the cocoa blocks away, and this girl's sitting, waiting to have some beautiful eggs.
Okay, so after ovulation, what happens next?
Okay, this is super exciting. So after ovulation, you're gonna see a pre-lay shed, usually about 14 to 17 days after that ovulation. That's when you mark your date, your lay date. 30 days from that day, that's when you're gonna see eggs. Now that's an average of 30 days. We have some girls who go a couple days before, a couple days after, but right around 30 is where your girl's gonna lay eggs. All right, so now we're gonna set up our egg box. We do have a video specifically about just setting up egg boxes, which I'll leave the link in the description, and I'll also put a card right here. But what we're gonna do is, you're gonna take your Clear Light. We're gonna go about 2 to 2.5 inches of it. Seems about right. Make sure that when you stick your Easy Hatch tray or whatever medium you're gonna use to put your eggs on, that it's not so high that when you put the lid on, the eggs are gonna touch it. That's super important. Now the next part, if you're using a Easy Hatch tray or some sort of medium to keep the eggs out of the bedding, then you can really go heavy on the water, which I do. If you wanna come down to the side, I fill it until you can see the water rising just up to the top of the Clear Light. Give it a good mix. And now you can see the water line is not all the way up, so I'm gonna add a little more water to that until you can see just about right there.
All right.
Get that in there. Go ahead and throw your Easy Hatch tray in. And now you're ready to put eggs in there. Make sure that when your girl is laying, don't bother her. If you catch her like this, let her take her time, come back in a few hours, and check again. All right, so now that your female is completely done laying, usually she'll be coiled around the eggs and all covered up just like this. You can really tell when she's done. You want to make sure that you pull the tip of the tail out from underneath the eggs to avoid any damage to the eggs or them rolling around. Usually I just grab them by the tip of the tail and then also about 3/4 of the way down the body, pull her off, and make sure you check there's no slugs or eggs still inside of her. Then you're going to want to put your girl to the side because you're going to clean her off after you're done separating these eggs. Okay guys, so now we have the female off the eggs. You have all your eggs right here. You have your egg box set up, sitting next to it. What we're gonna have to do is some eggs are stuck together. So we're gonna slowly peel apart the eggs and we'll speed this up so you guys can go ahead and watch it. And as you can see, some of them are pretty easy. You can just pop them right off, just give them a slight little pull, and they'll come off because there's only a little bit of it stuck to it. Just like so, nice and easy. And some of them are going to be a lot more stuck together. So what you want to do with that is you want to work them side to side, up and down, and just keep on working it nice and slow until you get those things pulled apart. You can use your finger a little bit to kind of separate them so that way they don't rip, but they should come off nice and easy. This is a super important step in candling the eggs. What you want to do is get a nice strong flashlight, shut off the lights in your room so that way you can see well, and go ahead and grab it and beam that light right on that egg. You're looking for the embryo. It's going to be like a circle right there. That's a perfect example. You can see that beautifully, perfect circle. You can jiggle it around, see it moves in there. That's what you want to see, and you want that part on the top of every egg inside your clutch when you put them in the egg box. You can choose to mark your eggs if you want. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. With these Easy Hatch trays, it's kind of easy to let the eggs sit there and they don't roll around a lot. But I went ahead and marked these ones just to show you guys. We can use any kind of pen. This egg as well, perfect on top. I'm gonna rotate it just a little bit, and bam, perfect. Mark that bad boy up and move on to the next egg. Sometimes you're not gonna get that perfect embryo right in the center with the perfect circle, so you'll have to follow the veins back to where they all connect. Then you can kind of give it a little jiggle and you can see the embryo in there. And it's off to the side, it's not a big deal, it happens. Just move it to where it needs to be, give it a little mark, and move on to the next egg. So now that all your eggs are all marked, candled, they're good to go, you want to make sure that none of them are touching the side or the top of the tub. If that happens, condensation will build up on the egg, filling it with too much water and possibly killing the baby inside, and you don't want that. So it's super important to keep your eggs at 100% humidity. So what we do is we add Glad Press and Seal to the top of each one because it still allows the eggs to breathe, but it traps in all that moisture. And it's super important to keep those eggs nice and hydrated. Incubation. Incubation is super important. What we do is we keep our eggs at 88.7 the whole time. Now, you can go a little higher, a little lower, that's fine. Some people do like 86, some people do 89, 90, 91. It's all personal preference. I know 88.7 works for us, so we're not switching it up. That's like our lucky number. Now, it's super important to get a good thermostat. We use the Herpstat Pro, I believe, the Herpstat 2. What it does is it's a proportional thermostat, so it keeps it right there. It actually changes the voltage of the heat tape to keep it right there. Now, there's the other thermostats, like the digital ones, that go on and off, on and off, on and off, and I do not recommend that. What happens is your temperatures are going to fluctuate up and down, just that little bit. And I found that consistency in temperature is the best way to get the most healthy babies. You definitely do not want highs and lows that are more, a 1 degree swing. It's really bad for the eggs. All right, so now all your eggs are in the incubator, the right temps, they're all good. We wait 52 days. I mark 52 days on each tub because that's usually when we cut. Now, I'll check the eggs a few days before then, usually day 48. What I'll do is I'll remove the Glad Press and Seal and I'll allow them to just breathe. On that time, I'll feel the eggs. If I can feel a baby in there, it's a good sign. I'll check to make sure everything's good. There's no too much moisture in there. And now, on day 52, when you go to cut your eggs, what you want to do is you give them like a little squeeze. You can feel them. If the babies aren't active in there, you can kind of feel them pushing back against you. If you don't feel that, don't cut your eggs yet. They're not ready. You kind of get it's experience. Once you've felt enough eggs that you need to cut, you can tell when they're ready. 52 days for us at 88.7 seems to be the perfect number. They all come out within 3 to 4 days after we cut. We also cut. Let's go into that for a second. Cutting eggs. Some people are against it. Some people are for it. Do whatever you want to do. You can let them pip. You can just, wait for the whole thing, let them come out on their own. That's completely up to you. Here, we like to cut. We like to cut because 1, I like to see what's in there. It's super exciting. 2, sometimes, snakes are not made to make it. They're not gonna make it out of the egg. They don't have an egg tooth. They might be super weak, whatever it is. That's fine. Well, what you do is we cut those eggs. So if I see a baby in there who looks weak or maybe caught up in his umbilical cord, I can fix that. I can do everything possible to make sure that baby survives. Even if it's super weak and it would normally die, I'll assist feed it. We'll assist feed it until it can eat on its own, and we save that baby's life. So do whatever you want. That's all up to you. We cut our eggs, and we're happy to do it. All right, guys, so now your eggs have been in the incubator. You've already cut them, and now you notice your babies are finally starting to come out of the egg.
It usually just takes a couple days after cutting. They'll absorb the rest of their yolk, and when they're ready, they'll come out.
All right, guys, so we know our hatchlings are coming out of the egg soon, so we need to set them up. What I do is I cut out a pre-cut little paper towel, throw that bad boy in here. Then I grab 2 paper towels and they go over here towards the hot spot. Now, don't forget your water cup. Let's grab some water. And the most important part right here is to make sure that you mist this down real well. Because for the first week, they're gonna have a very thick shed on them. And we need to make sure that they shed correctly. We want a super damp, super moist environment. Nice and warm, just like they're just getting out of the egg. So I go ahead and I soak it down till you can pretty much see through the entire paper towel. You don't want a bunch of standing water, but you want it to be nice and wet.
Okay, and how long do you need to get it ready before they come?
You want to make sure that it is ready and warm up to temp, 90 degrees on the hot side, before you put your babies in here. If you put them in here in a bunch of cold water, they're probably not going to enjoy it.
Okay, so now it's time for us to transfer our hatchlings into their new home. We try to get them transferred as early as possible because we've noticed that sometimes they'll try to crawl into the egg of their siblings, and we just want to avoid that, and we just get them switched over as soon as possible. So here we go, one at a time. They sure are pretty.
That's a little scale set right there.
Yeah. You can see that this one's missing some scales at the top of his or her head.
So now that all your babies are in their little shed tub, it's gonna be about 7 to 10 days, they're gonna shed out. It's a super thick shed for their very first shed, so make sure you keep it nice and moist. Make sure you spray that down every day. Sometimes you might wanna check it. If your room's not super humid, you might need to spray it twice a day. You never know, but make sure you check on those babies because it's super important. You don't want that shed to get stuck on them.
Yeah, and from there, we're going to separate them. So they're each gonna go into their own home. What's really nice about the first shed is you can really see all the details and have a way better idea of what your hatchlings are.
Man, okay, but that's gonna be part 3. So
Yes.
part 3, I want you guys to know that it's gonna be exciting. We're gonna talk about that first shed. We're gonna talk about first time feeding, when we can sell them, how we sell them, we're gonna go all into that on the next video. We did it, guys. Part 2 to how to breed ball python. Man, we had so much fun making this. Amethyst and I are always available to help you guys out. If you have any questions, anything like that, feel free to reach out on any social media here, anywhere. Speaking of helping out, y'all can please help me, help us, help the Scales family, and subscribe, like, leave a comment, hit that bell so you can see part 3, and also share this video, share our content. If you could do that for us, it helps out so much, and we really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. I know we can hit 5,000 subscribers. We're almost there. A little over halfway, but almost. Close enough. You got this. Believe in you.